I made nearly $4,000 using this very easy investing technique, but is it something that you can use and how does it actually work? Let's go ahead and break it down. Now, there are three things that I do for my own profit when it comes to the stock market, all of which we talk about here on the channel. Number one, we talk about index funds. I got a whole lot of my money in index funds. We talk about that all the time. It's something that's easy that I can set and forget and just leave it alone. Then I like to buy good quality companies that have momentum. When I say momentum, I mean companies that are beating the stock market in the last 6 to 12 months. Is why every time you hear me talk about a stock, I say in the last X months, right? This is how that company did. So I like to buy those companies. And then on top of that, number three, there are times where I like to use the covered call trading strategy or investing strategy. And that is the key of today's video. So I'm going to quickly explain it. And I want to go in the screen share, show you the receipts of how this worked, how I made that nearly $4,000. You guys will see the exact profit here in a sec, and how this whole thing played out. Okay. So what is a covered call? The first thing is, one, it starts with buy at least 100 shares of a company you believe in. A company, for me, that's good, has quality, and has momentum. I want a stock that's moving in the right direction. So in this case, I bought PACCAR. We did an entire video about when I bought PACCAR and how this entire thing works. This is the results of that video. So number one, buy a good quality company, you must have at least 100 shares of that company, which is why I did that video about the stocks that were under $100, because it's easier to buy 100 shares at $100 a piece versus a stock that's $2,000 a piece, right? So that's number one. Then you want to sell what is called a call option contract. Now, I'm going to describe it in the terms of insurance because I think most people are going to understand it in that way. So right now, let's say that I buy a stock for $100, okay? I'm going to sell an insurance contract. Anytime that I sell something, you're going to get paid for that, okay? So I'm selling this insurance contract, I get paid for it, and what the insurance contract says is the buyer, the person who buys it, has the right to buy it from me at a specific price. Okay, I almost said it incorrectly. At a specific price. That is where they get to buy it from me. What does that mean? Let's say I bought it at $100. I'm selling the contract that says that you can buy it from me from $120. Now think about that. Okay, I bought it at $100 and you can only buy it from me for $120. That means I've automatically locked in my profit if the stock is quality. So if the stock goes to $120, I would have made that difference, right? That is what, $20 a share times the 100 shares plus the money they pay me for the contract. Now, if it gets to 120, the person can say, look, I want to use my contract. I'm going to buy your 100 shares at $120. That's what the contract says. And I'm going to go and do whatever. I get paid from that. I no longer have the shares because it hit 120, but I basically locked in my maximum gain from that. Now, that is how it works. But the special thing is if you can do this in a way that you continuously keep the shares. So let's say again, we bought it for $100 and we say, all right, we're going to sell the contracts for $125. Okay, the stock goes to 120, it doesn't go to 125. Nobody's going to pay more for a stock than just go get themselves, right? So they're not going to use the contract. So the very next month, once the contract expires, we sell another one. And we say, all right, the stock is at 120, we're going to sell it at 135. We get paid for that contract, the stock goes up, and it does not hit 135. And we just continuously do this for as long as we can. Eventually, right, the price is going to hit, they're going to buy your shares in most cases, and you're going to profit from that. That is the perfect scenario. This does happen more often than not, at least for me, and that's what I'm going to show you with PACCAR. What are the downsides? Okay, I want to talk about both sides, the good and the bad. The good thing is, again, it's relatively easy to do. People who've been investing, I like to suggest at least 2 years. I want you to understand the market before you jump into it. It's very easy to understand and get into, very easy to make profits. The downside, again, is if this is a company that you wanted to hold for years and years and years, there's a chance where somebody could buy those shares from you because it hit that contract price. You're no longer going to have those shares. Now, you would have made a profit in most cases, right? But you won't have those shares. So you may have to go buy them for a higher price or wait till the stock to come down to rebuy them. Totally up to you. I don't see that as the worst thing in the world, but that is something you want to be aware of. The other thing is the stock could fall in value. That is a risk that we have across the board. You can buy a stock for 100, drops down to 80. Now, if that's the case, yes, you would have lost money on that stock. Perhaps you just need to hold it longer. Things will improve. We'll see. Right? But that is a risk. But the good thing is, let's say it drops down to 80. Then in that case, I'll say, all right, well, I'm going to sell a contract at 90. Or I'm going to sell the contract at 100. and we'll see what happens, right? If it gets to 100, great. I would have broken even. I would have made money from that contract, or I would have at least started making money on whatever contract we sell as the stock starts to drop, and we can decide whether or not to get rid of the stock. If the stock is dropping, then we need to reassess whether that was a good quality company or not. So those are the pros and cons. So now I'm going to go in and show you my actual account, how this works, and then kind of walk you through the mechanics of it. Here I'm going to show you PACCAR, and then we'll go into the options portion, and then I'll show you the receipts. All right, so right now, the time we're doing this video, you can see the date here, shares are $123.01. Now, I still like the company. I don't currently own it. You're going to see why here in a sec, but they give it a score of 9.8. I assume that is good. So if you go to the options chain here, and this is on Fidelity, you can do this on most apps, you're going to see something like this. Now, this can be a little intimidating. I'm going to really focus on what we care about most here. So I'm going to simplify this and just do calls. I can also, hit one of these, but I'm just going to go simplify this and just show me the calls. Okay. Now, what you're looking at here is, one, the price of the stock. So remember, the stock right now is $123. So I would have to buy at least 100 shares at $123. That's going to cost me $12,300, basically. Okay. Now, if I were looking to sell a call option here, what I would do is shoot for as far out or far above this $123. Now, what this is saying is these contracts are going to expire on April 19th. So I've got a little less than a month. And what I would do in this case is see what I like here. And right now, I could sell this and get 50 cents per share. So this would give me, if I had 100 shares, I would receive $5 here for this particular contract. If it does not, if the stock does not go up to 130, then I can sell another one next month. Now, $5, I'm not really excited about that. The stock has been doing well, so it might actually hit 130 between now and April 19th. So I would close this and go on to May. And these look a lot better. So for the same $130, I could get, $200 in this case, right? And if it hits, then I would get $130, right? The gain here, so about $7 a share, plus the $200 I would have made here because it's times 100. So what I'm doing is, what I want to do rather is shoot for a price I don't think is going to hit. So in this case, because I like PACCAR, or I liked it when I owned it, I would probably sell at 95. I would get $95, right? And perhaps it doesn't hit that. Let's say it just gets to 131 instead, but I sold this contract at 135. Then next month, I come back and do it again. And I just keep continuously picking prices that I think the stock will not go to, so I can keep the stock and have it to continue to gain while also collecting these payments. So that is how it works on this side, just to give you a visual representation. So how did it work when I owned it, and why don't I own it anymore? You're going to see. So the first time I bought shares back in May, I spent close to $7,300, and I sold the first contract and made $42. Okay. Then the next month in June, did it again, made $25. Did it again, made $188. Okay. Now it expired. That means that nobody used it, so I get to keep that. Right. Now in this case, I bought a transaction. Now this is something completely different, but I bought an option contract. But again, that's not for the purpose of what we're looking at. But we keep going. Sold again, 108. Sold again, 114. This time sold for 27, 27, 99, 320. Now this is actually a dividend, so that counts too. You own stock, you get a dividend, right? So that's a benefit of continuously holding on to a stock if you can. And then they actually called it. So I got the dividend here, but I guess I didn't hit it, didn't have the contract out far enough. The stock rose and they bought it from me at a higher price than when I sold it. So you can see here that it sold for almost $10,500. And you can see where I bought it way back here for $7,299. So if we go here to the CSV file that you can download from, again, most apps, you'll see here that the total profit, you can see here where I've added all these up, is $3,230. Now again, this right here, I don't count this because, again, I was buying something, so it did come out of the account. So if you want to count it, that's $3,000. If you don't want to count it, then that's where you get the $4,000 that I mentioned at the top of the video. So it's totally up to you whether or not you want to count that or not, since I bought something different. But in either case, that's how it works. So every time that I sold the contract, I was getting paid. Every time I got a dividend, it was paid. And then when it was called away, meaning somebody actually used that insurance contract, then I got paid for that too. So again, the basis of the strategy: choose a good quality company and then start to sell those calls after the fact. So very quick summary again as I go back. Now, you don't have to buy PACCAR, you buy whatever you like. Okay, this is just the example that I use, but I bought a good quality stock. I bought at least 100 shares in this case, and then I went through and I was selling call options only. And my objective, again, this is at 123. I don't think it's going to hit 123. I'm sorry, I don't think it's going to hit 130 by the end of June. So I'm going to sell this, make $180. If it doesn't get assigned, meaning nobody used that contract, I'm going to go to next month. And then, once that contract expires, it's going to be 87 days, right? So I have to wait 87 days. Once it expires, I'll sell another one and just keep that process going and going until, eventually somebody buys the stock from me. So that is how I did it. That's how it works. If you want a more detailed explanation, I actually teach an entire course on how this works. I'll make sure that that link is in the bio below. It's called the Investor's Toolkit, where I walk you through my entire investing process. So you can check that out too if you want a more detailed explanation. If you want to learn more about other investing strategies, my favorite investing strategies, then you can hit the video in the top left-hand corner.